This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review, and what I'm looking at today is 2022's Glass Onion, directed by Rian Johnson. And I've been a fan of his work since Brick, which I thought was a really good take on a teen-orientated mystery thriller. And from Brick, I moved to Looper, which I liked as well. Very interesting take on a time travel movie. Then I saw The Last Jedi, which I did not like because it didn't seem to respect the material that came before it. It was as if Rian Johnson were working with a blank slate, which isn't to say that he had to make a movie that I loved, but I didn't expect to be really irritated and borderline despise it. So that was interesting, though not a great feeling for me. Then I saw Knives Out, which I also did not like, because, like in the case of The Last Jedi, it felt to me that Rian Johnson doesn't respect the franchises and the genres he works with. Knives Out was very much an Agatha Christie story. But the thing is, it wasn't an honest Agatha Christie story. By which I mean, I recall one scene revolving around the pronunciation of a word, but it's done in a very cheap way, and it's less a clever idea than just deceiving the audience. I really was not a fan of that movie, and in fact, because of The Last Jedi and Knives Out, I've begun to become wary of Rian Johnson's work. I still think he's an interesting filmmaker, but he's not one I trust. So now we have Glass Onion, which is essentially, it's less a sequel to Knives Out than a movie that revolves around the characters established in Lights Out, particularly Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc. It revolves around Blanc getting this mysterious invitation to this murder party. An invitation, by the way, which looks like it was taken from Escape Room, the Escape Room movie, that is. In any case, he's invited to this island owned by this rich person named Miles Braun, played by Edward Norton, who's pretty good in the role. And I want to say 5 or 6 other people, and there's a murder on the island, and Blanc has to determine who did it. It is still very much in an Agatha Christie vein, but this movie is more Rian Johnson's take on the issues of the day. In other words, it's very much a political movie. It's a comedy also, but underpinning that comedy is a political allegory. Because, for instance, Miles Braun is very much a mixture of Mark Zuckerberg and the guy who purchased Twitter, who I think is just such an idiot. But in any case, Miles Braun is also an idiot, and he helped build this powerhouse company, but he betrayed one of the people who helped him do so. And the movie revolves around that person, played by Janelle Monáe, is working to try to get some type of revenge on Miles Braun, which plays into this revenge subplot that's going on as well. Though, as I mentioned earlier, Glass Onion is a comedy, which I enjoyed significantly more than Lights Out, because I think it's less trying to be an Agatha Christie knockoff, though that structure is still present, than to have these characters enact a very politically orientated story. Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc is just fascinating. He is funny, he's petulant, he's brilliant. What I enjoy about Craig's characterization of Benoit Blanc is that he's not good at everything. Too many movies tend to have, and I think this idea is in the popular psyche, and I don't understand it because it's such a silly notion. Namely, the idea that just because one is smart in one particular way means that you're smart in everything. As I said, this is a silly, nonsensical notion, and I don't understand it. And Rian Johnson plays with it quite a bit, in the sense that we have scenes where Benoit Blanc is, despite being a brilliant person in his reasoning capabilities, is griping about games like Clue, which he doesn't do very well. And I enjoyed that little dose of realism there, and hopefully people start to understand this fact. Though I don't, once again, understand why it's a mystery. And another thing that I surprisingly liked was that the mystery was not really a mystery. 15, 20 minutes, certainly no more than a half hour, I figured out who did it. Because it's fairly obvious. But that's the thing. Glass Onion isn't about the mystery. Not really. That's a secondary aspect to it. Story is more of these political types and Rian Johnson's thinly veiled feelings about them, which I liked. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but it's, as I said, it's a funny movie and it's interesting. Is he a very subtle writer? Because he wrote and directed Glass Onion. Is he a very subtle writer? No, he is not. It's very much on the nose and fairly obvious. But that's okay too, because the movie has other things going for it than the characterization of the characters. It's just fun, it's beautifully shot, and it's interesting. And I guess the most glowing recommendation I can give Glass Onion is that it makes me want to see another Rian Johnson movie. That's not what I felt after The Last Jedi. It's definitely not what I felt after Knives Out. So for me, that's an improvement. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.